6 years ago, I was plagued with very bad nightmares every single night. That was from me having no friends. I had gotten really depressed. I had lost my friends because I could no longer stand to even talk to them because they were constantly telling me to, shall we say, delete myself. And I told them repeatedly, like, I don't know, this doesn't really tickle my funny bone. This isn't really making me giggle like you thought it was. They didn't listen. And we had a lot more complications, but that was like the iceberg. I was forced to leave for my own safety and my own good because I felt like I had no friends, even though I was with people. I felt extra lonely. So I left, but I still had nightmares, and all of them were about death. But it wasn't exactly bad because these dreams would have different characters, just like random people. And as they were about to experience death, they would be magically saved by some sort of force. And whether that be another person, a wish, or something else, something would save them before it happened. And I got inspired by these dreams because I had so many of them to the point where I could make like a whole list of book ideas. And one of those ideas, my favorite one of those dreams, turned into my OCs today. So I'll be talking about that today. The story is called To All Those Who Need Love, and I've been working on it. I don't frequently write about it because I have not found the motivation to write and I don't feel like I have the skill for it. And I wrote it because at that time in my life, I thought that I was unlucky, that I'd just gotten unlucky with how I was born into this world and that nothing was gonna work out because it was just fate, like I had bad luck. But I don't think that now. I think that anything can be changed around. If you put your mind to it, you can change things. I didn't believe that back then because I felt like I had so much misfortune that it was just my circumstances. I wanted better circumstances, and I wished that instead of being born like into the life I have now, I wish that I was born into a different life where I wasn't put back by all these circumstances that stopped me from doing what I really wanted to. I'm keeping that quite vague because it's personal, but I do have a video about my childhood. 2 videos, one about my friendships when I was a young teen, and another video about my family life. That doesn't exactly go into the reason why this particular set of events in this video happened, but it's quite closely related. So, I was really wishing that I had a second chance basically. And I thought about that more and it manifested into the story, and I was inspired by my dreams to make a story about hope happen. So basically, I'm gonna tell you the synopsis now. So the synopsis goes that there's one girl, her name is Iris. She's an orphan, abandoned by her family, and she gets adopted by these rich people. And they rule this town that she lives in. They are highly important people. They only wanted to adopt her because they wanted to seem kinder, and because they wanted a child to look after. Soon after, they managed to give birth to their own little girl who is related to them by blood, and they start neglecting Iris. So Iris's sister gets to live in the second floor of their family's mansion, but Iris gets to live in the basement closet under the stairs, no water and not a lot of food because she experiences a lot of dehydration. Anyhow, as she goes into her teen years, she, let's lightly say this with an analogy, she hops into a giant lake, falls to the bottom of the lake. Trying to keep that quite vague. So she ends up reincarnated, but in my story, there's no heaven or hell. Everyone ends up at the same place. So she ends up in the afterlife. She ends up there for a while, until one day, this person with black wings comes flying towards her. And she thought it was like a myth because she'd heard of these stories of people similar to Grim Reapers to lead people to their deaths. Anyhow, this person, his name is Horus, and he's the leader of all of these keepers who lead humans to the afterlife. He offers her a contract. This contract states that she will be allowed to reincarnate, but she won't get to be human. Instead, she turns into a black-winged angel, and these group of people don't experience love or attraction, and they can't feel that for others. And there's a very deliberate reason why I chose this for her reincarnation, because I wanted to specifically create representation for a group of people who don't experience these things. Specifically, I am Arrow Ace and I'm queer. I have another label as well, but I don't find a lot of representation for people like us, and Also because I feel like really alone in my identity, because there are some queer people who would denounce being asexual or aromantic as if it's not just as valid as any other identification. Anyhow, there's this meme and joke about how people think that queer people make things about like being queer, and like how gay people will make things gay. Well, I'm here to make things queer. Like, I'm here for that, honestly. And this is my story, and I can do what I want. But in all seriousness, I think that being either one of these identities is heavily misunderstood by the general public. And I get that people are not familiar with it and will misuse the term, but people who are asexual experience little to no sexual attraction. People who are aromantic experience little to no romantic attraction, and these terms are separated. People often cannot differentiate these forms of attraction. On another note, humans sexualize many things unnecessarily so in this time of age. But let's deviate from that. You don't need to necessarily know someone's identity. There just has to be room for compassion and understanding other people. There are many identities I don't understand myself, and I'm queer, but I don't judge them because it's just the way they are. You don't get to pick your little identity. It's just a category to describe what you already are. Because let's be honest, if I were gonna choose my life, like I could pick whatever thing I could grow up as, would I have picked this? I don't know. I probably wouldn't have. Not to say that I hate existing like this. It's just like I wouldn't have like handpicked myself these things, you know? In fact, if I were to handpick anything, I'd probably pick like a higher IQ. I wouldn't even care about picking my identity. I'd just have these cards that I'm dealt with. Anyhow, I say this all to explain in my book that you don't necessarily need everything that everyone else has to be happy in life. Anyways, so back to the main character, Iris. She'll have to do keeper work, but she'll get to live in the human world if she so chooses to, because she couldn't stay at Underworld in her free time if she wants, but mainly she has to do keeper work and will be reincarnated as someone who cannot feel attraction or want attraction. Anyhow, Iris has really hoped for a second chance at life, so she immediately jumps on it because in her first life she hadn't experienced a lot of things and she really wanted more. She says yes to Horace's contract and she grows the same black wings as he has, but not only does she gain these new wings, she also keeps an attribute from before she died. So everyone who becomes a black winged angel or a keeper has an attribute that they had from before they died. For Iris, she has a crack, like a slit on her lip where it looks like she has cracked lips because she was dehydrated before her death, and she also has hair colored to look like deep underwater water to signify how she passed. And yeah, those are her attributes. Another character of mine's, Akira, his attributes are having hair that looks like there was a bucket of blood dumped onto it. I know that's really oddly specific. That's how I designed his hair, because for him, he died from medical reasons that he couldn't control, and his family tried their best to pay surgeries to get him to live a longer life, and they were extremely rich people, but no matter what they could do, they couldn't save him, and he passed away in the hospital. Deep trauma, I know, but yeah, for Akira, I also gave him like white streaks in his hair to show that like boy was dead. Old life. But yeah, I'm looking at other characters who also have designs integrated with their passing and such. I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but every single black winged angel, as I call them I guess, are given this contract only because they are worthy of a second chance in life, because they didn't have the opportunity to do what they wanted to in the past. And also, I care for my OCs very deeply. I used to specifically call Iris my daughter and Aki my son, because there is just something that makes me want to keep them safe, because there are people I see in the media and such, and I think they should have been kept safe, they should have been protected, but they weren't. That's how I think of them. But back to talking about the plot of my story. After signing the contract, she goes back into the human world and has to reintegrate living, and she ends up doing a bunch of things she never did it as a human, and she never could do because of how her life was structured. And the rest of the story would just be about her reintegrating into human life and finding things that make her happy. And this story can combines like my love for angels and for art, and I guess writing. I guess I like writing. But yeah, it's really close to my heart because I used to feel like my main character Iris. We grew apart because I've grown older, but back then I really felt like there was nothing for me and that there was no one else for me, like no people who could understand what I felt. And nowadays, like, I'm content in loneliness, not all the time, but yeah, I feel like I have changed these days to where I don't feel like it was my circumstances, and it was just how I was feeling back then. Oh yeah, but there are also other keepers, and these other keepers have died of several other reasons. Specifically, the contract is only for people who deserve to have a second chance or who were experiencing misfortune in their first life. Other keepers, some of them have passed due to their own circumstances, like their own doing, but other ones have died due to illness, persecution, and other heinous things. But I think that the goal of me writing this story would be to tell people that even if you don't have it now, you will find meaning later on. Yeah, and I will post like a reading of the first chapter after I edit it a little more, because I really don't enjoy writing that much because I feel really like self-conscious about my writing, and I feel like I don't know enough vocabulary for it. And I also I don't read enough about other writers. I don't read enough writing to properly write my own book. Anyways, I've tried to keep a track and be on top of my uploading schedule, because it's loosely like uploading like once a week. Right now, this is the 9th day without an upload, but I've had some more friendship contemplations. Friendship? Not even friendship, honestly. More like unfortunate people I know. But yeah, that's my thing to deal with recently. And also, I know this video is like very me-centered, like I talk about me a lot, but that's low-key the point. Low-key the point. So I can say whatever thing about my life I want to, I guess. But I had gelato today, and that was good. So, hooray, gelato. Anyways, that's it for this video. I don't know what the song or CD of today is going to be. I need to start burning my own CDs, but today's song can be, I guess it can be Hyperventilation by Rad Wimps. Yep, it's a good song for today. Anyways, see you all later. And I totally forgot, but if you actually enjoy this video, then please consider liking and subscribing. Please, 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 please. Because I don't like saying this, and it's really weird if I just answered this in like an emotional rant or a meaningful rant, so I can't really say this in the middle of my videos. But yes, consider please. Bye bye.